The documentary, In My Blood It Runs, follows a young Aboriginal boy and his family learning how to navigate their two worlds. One world being their beautiful and rich cultural life, and the other is their schooling and town life. Juan, the young boy, has a strong cultural identity where he is a healer, a good hunter, and is learning to speak three languages while also having good historical knowledge. Early on, we can see his intellectual spark. However, in our state schooling system, he's failing. The story explores how disconnected Juan becomes from his school. This is attributed to the content that's being taught and the ways of teachings that is falling on deaf ears with him, and a lack of connection he's having with the teachers. It follows how this disconnection leads him to almost fulfilling a negative self-prophecy. He becomes perilously close to being incarcerated. And just another statistic. This is not the life his family wants for him. So in an effort to hopefully change things, they send him to his dad's, where we see a refreshed Juan. He makes connections at the new school, and we see turns for the better. My overall intention in choosing this story for the presentation was to explore a vitally important challenge facing Australian schools and teachers. One that is ingrained in our history and is going to affect our future teachers. The challenge explored in this story is, how do we connect our Indigenous students? How do we ensure we can provide them with the best pathways for success while encouraging and embracing their wonderful culture? I believe one of the steps is by creating positive interpersonal relationships between teachers and students, which will further lead on to a better self-concept. This is displayed in the story of Juan, where in a school where he is disconnected from the teachers, he is failing, and the two worlds he's learning to walk in are out of sync. However, in a school where he builds those connections, he is thriving, and there is more balance between those two worlds. Furthermore, the documentary explores some of the professional standards as outlined by the Australian Institute for Teaching and School Leadership, contributing to a teacher's professional identity. Focus Area 1.4 involves strategies for teaching Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students, while Standard 2.4 also explores how it's essential to understand and respect Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to promote reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australian. The story displays when these standards are practiced, the students become connected. This is portrayed in the documentary when Juan is transferred to a school that included Indigenous knowledges into the curriculum. He builds those connections with the school and teachers. Whereas when he's in a school that flippantly taught Indigenous knowledges and wasn't respectful of the culture, of his culture, he disconnected. The story demonstrates how communication is at the crux of teaching. How negative interpersonal relationships with teachers, like the one Juan had with the teacher who flippantly taught Indigenous knowledges, led him down a negative path. However, at a school which embraced Indigenous knowledges and taught differently, those connections were almost built instantly.